Welcome to The Explainer. Today, I'm going to be playing the role of your nutrition doctor. We're going to diagnose a widespread cellular deficiency and prescribe a completely new, low-glycemic dietary strategy. Honestly, if you're someone managing insulin resistance, metabolic syndrome, or you're just trying to keep your blood sugar stable, that standard advice you've been given about potassium, yeah, it might actually be working against you. All right, let's just dive right into our treatment plan for today. We're going to cover the standard potassium problem, the vital magnesium-potassium connection, and why low-carb diets cause rapid depletion. After that, we'll hit the top low glycemic sources, a really cool cream of tartar hack, and wrap it all up with a simple menu for busy people.
So Part 1, the standard potassium problem, or why bananas are sabotaging your metabolic health.
We're always told, right, that we need 4,700 milligrams of potassium every single day. But here's the kicker. The foods we're usually told to eat to hit that goal, bananas, potatoes, plantains, they are a massive metabolic trap for your blood sugar. Think about it. A single banana packs roughly 27 grams of sugar, which triggers a substantial spike in both your blood glucose and your insulin. If you're insulin resistant, that starch just rapidly hydrolyzes into free glucose in your gut, totally counteracting your broader health goals. But then, on the flip side, we have a medium avocado. It delivers around 700 milligrams of potassium with zero net carbohydrates, zero glycemic impact, and absolutely no insulin response. Moving on to Part 2, the magnesium-potassium connection. This right here is the biological missing link, because eating potassium is really only half the battle. To really grasp this, we've got to look at this specific cellular mechanism called the sodium-potassium ATPase pump. Think of it as the engine that generates the electrical charge to fire your nerves and contract your muscles. But here's the secret. This pump literally cannot function without one specific biochemical prerequisite. And that brings us to my clinical diagnosis for you today. It's a three-step process. Step 1, sure, you eat your potassium. But Step 2, that's where the magic actually happens. Magnesium must act as a crucial cofactor. If you don't have adequate magnesium stepping in as that cofactor, well, that dietary potassium you just ate can't even enter your cells. It just circulates around, completely useless. Step 3, successful transport into the cell only happens when magnesium is there to unlock the door. The science absolutely backs this up. To quote our source material, increasing potassium intake alone without attending to magnesium status will produce incomplete results. Basically, they have to work as a team. This is exactly why high-quality whole foods, like avocados, are just so superior. They give you both minerals at the exact same time, which is physiologically necessary to actually fix that cellular deficiency. Okay, Part 3, low-carb diets and depletion. Let's look into why ketogenic lifestyles demand a lot more from your body. If you're doing the low-carb thing to manage metabolic syndrome, you might be looking at this question and thinking, yeah, why do I feel so fatigued or crampy or just depleted sometimes, even though I've dropped the sugar and I'm eating clean?
Well, the answer is right here. When you change your metabolic state and lower your insulin levels, you inadvertently trigger something called elevated renal excretion. Essentially, your kidneys just stop holding on to water, and they rapidly flush out sodium and potassium. Boom, gone. So your baseline electrolyte needs drastically increase. You critically need to replenish those stores. But obviously, you can't go chowing down on high-carbohydrate bananas to do it.
Which brings us to Part 4, top low glycemic potassium sources. Get ready, because this is your clinical cheat sheet. We need a solid list of superfoods that deliver the goods without the glycemic liability. You might actually want to grab a screenshot of this list right here. These are your true nutritional heroes. Just look at that massive yield. 1 cup of cooked beet greens gives you a whopping 1,300 milligrams of potassium. Half a fillet of wild salmon, about 970 milligrams. Spinach and avocados round out the bottom there. Oh, and here is a massive pro tip from our research. Always saute your leafy greens in fat instead of boiling them. If you boil them, all that water-soluble potassium just leaches right out down the drain. Cooking them in fat preserves the potassium and actually helps you absorb the vitamin K1. Now, there is a slight catch with greens like Swiss chard and spinach. They contain oxalic acid, which can bind to calcium and cause kidney stones in some folks. But don't panic, you can manage this safely. First, if you eat a calcium source, like some aged cheese, at the exact same meal, the calcium and oxalate will just bind together in your gut and get excreted safely. Second, the magnesium that's naturally found in these greens actually inhibits crystal formation in your kidneys anyway, And finally, just drink your water. About 2.5 liters daily is perfect to keep things diluted and flushed out.
It's also surprisingly easy to sneak extra potassium into your everyday cooking using these flavor-packed, zero-starch additions. Take portobello mushrooms, for instance. 1 cup sautéed in butter gives you 530 milligrams. Or tomato paste. Just 2 tablespoons mixed into a stew or a braise adds 400 milligrams in a really concentrated form, plus you get all that bioavailable lycopene.
All right, part 5, the cream of tartar hack. This is a brilliant, all-natural substitute for those pricey artificial electrolyte powders.
250 milligrams. That is the exact amount of potassium you get from just a tiny half-teaspoon serving of something you probably already have sitting in the back of your baking pantry.
The secret here is that cream of tartar is actually chemically pure potassium bitartrate. It's a naturally occurring salt derived from the winemaking process, and it dissolves super easily in water. This makes it an incredibly low-cost, zero-carbohydrate supplement for your daily hydration. Seriously, if you're on a keto diet and you're flushing electrolytes, adding just half a teaspoon of this to your water bottle is an absolute game changer. And finally, part 6, a menu for busy people. Let's put all this together and build the ultimate metabolic plate for folks who don't have time to cook elaborate dinners. I like to call this the 5-minute potassium powerhouse. It is incredibly simple. Just take half a fillet of wild-caught Pacific salmon and pair it with 1 medium-sliced avocado. You definitely want wild-caught salmon here because it feeds on a natural diet of krill, which gives you way more of those anti-inflammatory EPA and DHA omega-3s compared to the farm stuff. Pair that with the avocado, which is absolutely packed with oleic acid to keep you feeling full for hours.
When you actually run the nutritional math on this, the results are pretty mind-blowing. This one simple meal gives you roughly 1,670 milligrams of potassium. It provides those essential magnesium cofactors we talked about earlier to actually pump that potassium right into your cells, and it does all of this with zero, and I mean absolutely zero glycemic impact. Your blood sugar stays completely flat.
I really hope this explainer has completely shifted how you view electrolytes and your overall metabolic health. You've got the tools now, right? The food lists, the biological understanding of that crucial magnesium connection. So I'm going to leave you with this final question to chew on. Are you fixing your cellular potassium deficit the smart way, or are you just eating more sugar disguised as health food? Thanks so much for joining me today, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.